When you hear the word mafia, you probably picture expensive suits, luxury cars, secret meetings, and scenes straight out of famous gangster movies. Hollywood has turned organized crime into one of the most recognizable genres in entertainment. But while movies focus on violence and power, they often miss the main reason these organizations existed in the first place: money. The Mafia wasn't just a group of criminals. It was an organization built around making money, controlling territory, and expanding influence. So how did these groups become so wealthy? To understand that, we have to go back to where it all started. In places like Sicily during the 1800s, governments struggled to protect citizens and enforce the law. Many business owners and landowners had limited protection from thieves, violence, and local conflicts. That created an opportunity. Local groups began offering protection in exchange for regular payments. For a business owner, the idea was simple: pay the group, and they would make sure your property and business stayed safe. At first, this system seemed useful. But as these groups gained more power, the relationship changed. They weren't just protecting businesses from criminals anymore. They became the people businesses needed protection from. If someone refused to pay, they could face serious consequences and struggle to operate normally. This became known as a protection racket, a system where organizations demanded money in exchange for security, and this was only the beginning. As the Mafia grew, they discovered that controlling territory and collecting payments could create a steady stream of income. But soon, they found even bigger opportunities. They began moving into industries where demand was high and competition was limited, and one event would help transform them into some of the most powerful criminal organizations in history. That event was Prohibition. In 1920, the United States introduced Prohibition, banning the production and sale of alcohol across the country. The goal was to reduce alcohol consumption, but instead, it created a massive underground market. People still wanted alcohol, but legal businesses could no longer supply it. That left a huge opportunity. Organized crime groups stepped in to fill the demand. They created networks to produce, transport, and sell alcohol illegally, turning a banned product into a highly profitable business. For many mafia groups, Prohibition was the moment they went from small, local organizations into powerful criminal enterprises. But alcohol was only one part of their business model. After building wealth and influence, these organizations expanded into other illegal industries. They became involved in activities like illegal gambling, smuggling, fraud, and loan sharking. The reason these markets were attractive was simple: high demand, limited competition, and large amounts of money. However, making huge amounts of illegal cash created another challenge. How do you use that money without revealing where it came from? The answer was money laundering. Money laundering is the process of making illegally earned money appear legitimate. Criminal organizations often used businesses and investments to hide the origins of their profits. By moving money through legitimate companies, it became harder for authorities to track. Over time, some groups invested in industries like restaurants, construction, transportation, and real estate. Some of these businesses were legitimate. Others helped disguise illegal profits and increase their influence. The Mafia wasn't just making money from one source. They built a system with multiple income streams, similar to how large corporations diversify their businesses. But eventually, governments started fighting back. For decades, organized crime groups were able to build powerful networks and operate with significant influence. But their success also made them a major target. Governments began creating stronger laws, specialized crime units, and better financial investigations designed to track their operations. Instead of only focusing on criminals themselves, authorities started following the money. They investigated bank accounts, businesses, and financial connections that helped expose illegal operations. Over time, this made it much harder for these organizations to operate on the same scale as they once did. Many famous mafia groups that were once extremely powerful have declined significantly. Some still exist today, but they no longer have the same level of control and influence they had decades ago. The story of the mafia is often portrayed as one of power and wealth, but the reality is much different. Their money came from exploiting markets, controlling people, and operating outside the law. While they understood business concepts like supply and demand, expansion, and creating multiple revenue streams, their methods led to constant conflict, instability, and eventually decline. The biggest lesson from their history isn't that crime creates success. It's that any organization built on fear and illegal activity eventually faces limits. The mafia's rise and fall shows how money, power, and incentives can shape organizations, even in the darkest parts of the economy. And that's why the story of the mafia remains one of the most fascinating examples of how underground businesses operate.